Signaling her love to the crowd, Karen Reed emerging from this Massachusetts courthouse to an eruption of cheers and chants. The jury finding Reed not guilty of killing her police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, a year after her first trial ended with a hung jury.
I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team. No one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have.
The jury clearing Reed of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a deadly accident.
Defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all?
Cheers so loud outside they could be heard in the courtroom, where a tearful Reed embraced her defense team. Overnight, Reed celebrating out in Boston with family and friends.
I'm happy. Thank you.
The 45-year-old was convicted of a lesser charge, driving under the influence. The jury heard interview clips of Reed addressing drinking the night O'Keefe died during the trial.
When I've had a few drinks and I drive, I always do it extra slow, but I shouldn't be driving.
She was sentenced to 1 year probation, in sharp contrast to the life sentence she could have faced if convicted of murder. Reed's family sharing in her relief.
What's the takeaway? Message? Beyond words.
O'Keefe's loved ones left the courthouse without speaking to the media, but the families of several key witnesses who testified against Reed writing in a statement, "We mourn with John's family and lament the cruel reality that this prosecution was infected by lies and conspiracy theories. The result is a devastating miscarriage of justice." Reed was accused of hitting O'Keefe with her SUV back in 2022 and leaving him to die after a night of drinking. Key piece of evidence prosecutors cited was car data and expert testimony arguing that Reed suddenly accelerated in reverse at the time and location in question. But the defense has insisted there was no collision and that she was the victim of a corrupt police investigation. The lead investigator in the case, Michael Proctor, was fired after lewd text messages about Reed were revealed. He did not take the stand in the Reed trial, but spoke to Dateline's Andrea Canning.
What do you want to say to anyone who believes the narrative, the defense's narrative, that you are corrupt, that you framed Karen Reed?
I laugh because it's such a ridiculous accusation. There's not one piece of evidence or fact to support that.
With security escorting Reed away from her criminal case that's divided Boston and beyond, the now former defendant at the center of a national spectacle, with dedicated fans rooting for her to the end.
You guys flew from Michigan and Florida. How does it feel right now?
I feel so much relief. I can't even imagine how Karen feels.
Well, Reed's time in criminal court has wrapped up. She still faces a civil wrongful death lawsuit filed by the O'Keefe family, but any kind of liability in that case would be a financial one. Guys?
Emilie, Ikeda, thank you.
All right, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, good morning to you. Again, this is one of those cases that I feel like folks have been watching very closely for a long time now. We know the verdict, but let's talk about the investigation now. Do we think at any point we'll find out exactly what happened inside that house?
No, I think probably for the police department, for the state troopers, this is what they would say cleared by other. I don't think there's going to be any further investigation. They believe they had the right person, and with the acquittal, that probably is the end of the John O'Keefe death investigation. So we won't hear much more about that. But, Craig, I got to tell you, going back to what you said, this case divided the country into really two classes: people who had never heard of the Karen Reed case and people who are utterly obsessed with it. And I probably fall into that latter category. And within that category, also sharply divided, people who believed in a conspiracy and cover-up and people who believed that it's possible that someone who'd been drinking heavily may have run over her boyfriend.
Let's pick up where Emilie was leaving off there about the civil suit brought by the family. How do you think the trial outcome affects that? Does the family have more or less leverage now? Do they not go forward with it? What do you think happens?
The fact that Karen Reed was largely acquitted doesn't damage the civil suit against her. If anything, the criminal case in these situations often dredges up a lot of really good evidence that the civil attorneys can use in their case. And look no further than the O.J. Simpson trial. Remember, O.J. Simpson, many decades ago, was found not guilty in his criminal case, but ultimately found liable for the deaths of his victims in a civil case. And similarly, civil case came after the criminal case, and you can use all that good evidence that the police dredged up in your civil case, because the burden there is just preponderance of the evidence. It's not that highest criminal burden of beyond a reasonable doubt. So you can have those inconsistent results.
Were you surprised at all by the verdicts yesterday?
I was not correct. I am usually wrong in my predictions. This is like the one that I got right, which was I believed that because the defense took a very conservative approach here, they didn't try to prove affirmatively this conspiracy theory. They just said, look, there's reasonable doubt that there was a collision, and if you don't believe there was a collision, the only thing you can find her guilty of is drunk driving.
All right. Danny Cevallos. By the way, beautiful suit. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful suit.
Twins.
Quick programming note here. The Reed case and trial will be the focus of a special 2-hour Dateline tonight, tracing all the twists, all the turns, including more of that conversation you just saw there between Andrea Canning and the lead investigator. That's coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, right here on NBC.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.